Boa tarde, Senhor Diniz, tudo bem? How are you, Nils? Peanut Soccer Cards and Paul, how are you, Paulo? Danny Marin, Danny Paiva, JPL Ferreira, welcome. All right, so let's get Aaron from Investing Soccer. This is not one of my normal days of doing these lives, but I definitely had to get Aaron on after a great interview that he had with Nat Turner from Collectors Universe. For those of you that don't know, that's Collectors Universe is the umbrella company that owns, among other companies, PSA. So, but let's get Aaron in before anything else, so we can start off. There we go. I just invited him. Yeah, Paulo. Yeah, hopefully go win it. I'll mention the prizes in a few. Some of you already know. Aaron, how are you?
Hi, not too bad, sir. How are you?
Good. Thanks for accepting my invite. I appreciate it, especially under the circumstances. Very short notice, but I just had to get you on after the great interview that you had with, one of the top guys in the collecting world, PSA. So once again, thanks for coming over on short notice. How's everything over there in the UK? Good?
It's raining as usual.
Well, that's better than snow. I was just complaining mentally on my own back because we had some snow. We had about 4 inches here in the Northeast, and I'm just not used to it. The shoveling and so on. So you're in much better shape than we are. So I was mentioning before you came on that you had an interview with Nat Turner, and we'll go over that in a few. But I want to congratulate you on the fact that you did a tremendous job. You asked all the questions that pretty much everyone in the soccer collecting world community has been wanting to ask. And between you and I, just the fact that he did accept that invite, that shows there's so many words you can use that could describe it. One of the first one I come up with is transparency, and the fact that he cares about the little guys like you and I. You obviously have a lot more followers, but the fact that he took your invitation, what does that tell you?
Yeah, I think to be honest, it came as a real shock. But I think again, because I was trying to do quite a bit of research on Nat before the interview, and every interview that he did, everything that I read about him, what comes across is just for the hobby. He loves the hobby, and I think interacting with people like us, he just loves to do. He just loves to talk that. So that's what really came across, and that's what I really liked about the conversation as well. And I think just even through our conversation, you could tell how much he adores being in this space.
And the fact that you were able to keep it with the soccer spectrum on it, which I thought was amazing. And one of the first questions that like I said, I really like to consider this more of a chat than an interview, because you're usually on this side, but I mentioned it's more of a chat, Aaron. One thing it was curious about the name that you have on Instagram. You call it Investing in Soccer. And I've always thought, as a Portuguese American, I always thought the word soccer was almost a no-no in the UK world. How did that come about?
And you're one of the first people. I've been doing this now for 2 years, and you're one of the first to ask me why I call it Investing in Soccer. So it was because soccer. Everyone knows what soccer is, and because the hobby is just so big in America, to call it investing in football, and if I was to speak to Americans, they wouldn't get that I'm speaking about football, that I'm speaking about soccer. So
right.
It just came about that I was trying to reach an American audience, and because they call it soccer, and because the cards are called soccer trading cards, I just thought it was easier. But at the beginning, there was a few people who really didn't like that I call it investing in soccer. Because again, in England, it is a no-no to call it soccer, so it's taken a bit of getting used to.
That's what I thought. That was definitely a no-no. Nova Yorkino, which is a friend of mine for a few years, his first name is also Paulo. He mentioned 300 million people. That's why I laugh out loud. He's right about that. So yeah, so you're calling investing in soccer, and before we get to what we're probably going to spend more time, which will be about the interview that you had with Nat, I was curious to actually talk with someone in the other side of the world, and see how different it is as far as the the soccer collecting, the cards, stickers, and so on compared to us here. So I have a few questions for you because the truth be told, I was never really chatting with someone like this back and forth, and I thought you'd be curious to find out some things. So you mentioned that you started this about 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Originally, what was your first idea with with the investing in soccer?
Well,
what was it that prompted you to start?
yeah. So what happened was, it was at the beginning of the first lockdown. So it was like February 2020, and I really wanted something to do. And what really got me was I was watching someone called Gary Vaynerchuk, Gary V.
Yep.
And,
Vegas.
yeah, and he was talking about collecting cards, and I actually started collecting basketball cards. Quickly realized that I knew nothing about basketball cards, or nothing about basketball. So I then started collecting soccer cards, football cards, and the Americans, when they saw that I was from England, kept asking me about football and soccer and who the players are. And
Wow.
it just got, and then my brain was just like going around. I was like, oh, there might be something here. So then I started the Investing in Soccer group. And the initial idea was to, and this is a very broad sense, because obviously there's Americans who like football, but then there's also people in England who've been collecting for years. But the initial thing was to educate more Americans on the game of soccer and football, and then also to educate and create a group for people in the UK to learn about the hobby, because the hobby in England was non-existent for the majority of people before 2018. So it's not that we didn't like collecting cards. It's like no one knew that cards existed. For us, it was stickers, it was Pokemon cards and Pogs, and it was stuff like that. So it was never really collectible trading cards. So it was brand new to a lot of people. So to understand where to buy, to understand
the grading.
That's the grading, especially the grading. That I mean, that's really new to a lot of people. That was an element that I wanted to try and bring to the UK people. So it was kind of a mixture of the two that I wanted to try and create a space to help people learn and grow.
And you were able to do it very successfully, by the way, and we'll get to that, especially on the grading part, because I have a few questions for you about it. But as far as you actually collecting football or soccer in this case, how long ago did you get really involved with collecting, the soccer stickers and the cards?
So it's actually probably, in terms of collecting, probably only about 18 months ago. The idea, yeah. So for me, it's always been, I like to think of business ideas, and I like to, if I've got something on my mind, then I like to create it. And the reason why I came into this space was to invest initially. That was the reason why I wanted to come in.
Right.
Then I saw this whole community of people. It's one of the best community of people that I've ever been with. Like, in terms of all we talk about is we can talk about football and we can talk about cards, and I just think there's nothing better than that.
And sharing information, right?
Yeah. Absolutely, and I think so. So what happened was, after about 4, 5, 6 months of me accumulating all these cards, I then started to realize I was drawn to certain sets, I was drawn to certain players, and then that's when my PC started. So my PC actually only started probably about 18 months ago, which was after I started investing in soccer.
Wow. And let me ask you something. So at a certain point, you started transitioning also, like you mentioned, among other things, with the grading. And I did see that you are, I guess, you work with PSA and SGC at this point as far as grading. And when did I start? And when did you notice the gap, the need, for the UK community as far as needing someone to actually submit, cards and stickers for grading?
Yeah, so that probably started about, I want to say I submitted actually it was almost a year ago to the date that I started grading. What the reason was is because we had a company in the UK called Great Gem. I think there's 2 companies in the UK who PSA registered vendors.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember, because I was building this group at the time, and there was a few members at about a year ago. There's a few members, and then that's when everyone started to get into grading cards. So what I then tried to do is I tried to reach out to Graded Gem and say, well, I've got this group. Is it possible if they send the cards to me, can I then send the cards to you, and then you send back to me and I distribute? And then they didn't email me back. And like me, I'm kind of like a dog with a bone. So if someone's not gonna help me do it, then I'll just do it myself.
Wow,
so
that's a great attitude.
So then I was just like, okay, let me try. And then I did a few tests myself. So I sent a few cards off to PSA. Tried to work out the process, and then I got a few guys who I knew from my group at the time who were regulars, and we used to talk a lot. To then they started to submit their cards, and then it just grew from there. Then I just realized, and then actually the next catalyst was Graded Gem actually shut down their operation. So I thought, well, there's literally no one in the UK that is really doing it to a certain extent. There's a few people who do it individually,
right?
No one doing it to a high level. So then I just thought, well, that's a space that I'm going to try and fill.
And your business definitely increased after that, right?
Yeah, and it actually got too big because there's only me. It's only me in it, and there's only so many cards that I can accept, grade, free grading, and obviously I don't want to do. I don't want to delay anything with people, so I try and get him in as soon as I can. I'll have him for a few days, and then I'll ship out to PSA. They come back and I ship out. So.
And then the great thing about it is you do like a lot of people are doing it. I myself do it when I get some of these submissions back. I like to do a reveal, which you did. Was it today? My sense of time is terrible. You did one. Was it today or yesterday?
No, it was today. Yes,
it was today. Okay. Just goes to show you that my sense of time is, and I saw some nice returns over there. So so one thing I needed to ask you about is as you probably know, and I mentioned I'm Portuguese American. I have quite a few people from Portugal, friends and people that I've met in the business that want to submit stuff over to PSA, SGC, but there's no one in Portugal to do it. I had in the past, I said, maybe you can go with somebody through the UK. Are you at this point accepting anything, any submissions from people outside of the UK, just limited to them, or?
It's because I try and keep things as low cost for people as possible. So right now there's Cyprian, he might even be in this chat. There's a guy who submitted to me from Romania, and a few from Holland, and then one from Germany. So absolutely, if anyone's wanting to send, that's absolutely the case. But the only issue with some people is it's keeping that cost down. So it'll probably cost between £60 and £100, or around $120 to get it sent to me, because again, it depended on the level of the card that you are sending.
Sure. Yeah, you're not going to get a base card of I don't know a medium player. So you're looking at something that the return justifies the investment to grade, obviously. Now, one question as a follow-up to that I needed is because, as I'm sure you've heard from other countries, what they call the import duties and the taxes. How does that work for them? I mean, in submitting to them, do you have that already figured out?
Yeah. So what? Even though the last one I sent was to Cyprian, and we had a discussion with the customs, but basically what should happen is these are personal items. So where the VAT comes into effect is if you're selling the items and you're not actually selling the items. So VAT should not be added onto that. Now there is an argument to say that if the thing then increases in value,
right.
It should be, but
that's where they hit you. And I know in Portugal, they really hit you hard, and that's one of the main concerns, from people that haven't been able to grade them because of that, and those taxes, I believe, is like 20-something% on top of, the value.
Yeah.
So
it's the same here. It's 20%, and usually they'll add on a few extra percent for something else. But there is ways around it, and that's one thing that I need to. That's one thing that I'm working on and getting better at. I can do it for the people in the UK, absolutely fine. When it's the people abroad, because I'm working at small levels at the moment, we usually can get past it because not much is being sent to, like I'm sending to one individual. Whereas in future, the way I hope for it to go is maybe have people in the different countries to accept all the cards, and then do it that way.
It would make more sense that way. Absolutely. Yeah.
So that's where I would like to go.
Yes, but that's a good idea, no doubt. And Aaron, if you allow me, I have a few people obviously that join that are from Portugal here, and sometimes there's a little bit of a language gap here. If you allow me, just give me a few seconds for me to explain to them that indeed you are possibly a way for them to go and to submit some of the cards. I'm going to say that in Portuguese, if you don't mind. Portanto, aqui o Aaron do Investinginsoccer, que vocês podem seguir no Instagram. Ele é uma das pessoas que aceita, portanto, envios de cartas e de cromos para poderem ser graduados. Há uma ou outra companhia que faz isso, portanto, na Grã-Bretanha, mas aqui o Investinginsoccer, através do Aaron, ele aceita, portanto, vocês sigam, mandam uma mensagem para ele e ele, de certo, que poderá ajudar-vos, portanto, em envios de cartas graduadas. All right, so there I had my Portuguese coming out at this point. Going back to something that I thought interesting. I don't know if in the UK, you guys have, or I'm sure you've heard of what here in America we call garage sales.
Yeah.
Are you familiar with that? The vintage soccer card collecting in me tells me that there's got to be things like estate sales or even garage sales where on any given weekend, especially on Saturdays, that's the typical day where people put out items, excess items that they have or they have built up over the years, and they put it out in a garage sale in the driveway. Do you guys there in the UK have things like that and maybe even antique shops that you can every once in a while stop by and look for some old stuff,
Yeah, so we call them car boot sales, and
boot sales.
Car boot sales.
Car boot sales. Okay.
So basically, from the back of your car, people just have just in the back.
Really?
That's where it comes from. Back of your car, open the boot. I don't know if it's the same word in America, but open the back of the car, and then you just sell stuff out of that. So we do have them, but it's very hard to get. It's just junk based. Obviously, it's a garage sale. It's just
right.
It's junk, so it's very hard to pick up good items. But we do have auction houses over here, so you can pick stuff up. But since 2018, since 2017, 2018, a lot of people have kind of cottoned on to the fact that these things that were from 10, 20, 30 years ago are actually of value. So it's very hard to find, but there is still opportunity to find stuff.
Yeah, because here at the garage sales, they're even advertised, or they used to be. Now, obviously, with the newspapers sort of being second to social media and so on, they are even advertised ahead of time. So before I had children, my wife and I, we would go to these garage sales and we would look ahead of time. Okay, on Friday, we look in the newspaper and say, hey, here's a town that's going to have like 3 or 4 different garage sales. So, we never knew what to find. But I mean, I found a brand new bike for my wife. I found some old items. You just don't know what you can get. So I thought, let me ask Aaron to see if he has stuff like that. How about, card shows? Like we have them here in the US. Even during the pandemic, we're still able to. It depends on the states, but we have things like that. You guys in the UK have the luxury of having things like that, or it's not very popular?
No, I mean I think we started having card shows last year. what I would say is before 2018, 2019, again, this hobby was, so niche in the UK that like you just didn't do anything like this. So
Right.
there probably was a group of people, and maybe 10, 20 years ago, there probably was some sort of events, but now it's really gaining traction. So last year, I think we had three card shows. This year we've got one's the London Card Show, which is on the 29th of January, and then there's another one in February, but then we've got a big one there's a UK company called UK Box Breaks.
Nice.
They're hosting one with, I don't know if you're aware of Soccer Breakers in the
Yes.
US. So they're co-hosting one.
Oh, that's great. So it's two things in one then.
Yeah, and they're actually holding it at Tottenham Stadium.
Wow, that's my team. I don't know if you know that. That's my team. I'm a Hotspur fan. Yeah.
I'm an Arsenal fan. I wish you'd have told me that.
Oh man, I find so many of you guys, But no, we're definitely able to separate the two. So. Yeah. How about I was going to ask you this because I know at least in Portugal and in Spain it's pretty common, especially during the World Cup and the Euros and so on, swapping of the stickers. Is that something that you guys also do? I mean, for the last one, for the Euro, is this something that the community comes together in different locations within towns and swap, the doubles that they have for stickers that they need?
You got too many Spurs fans in here.
Oh, yeah. Come on, you Spurs. That's right.
I mean, yeah, again, with it, because I'm so new to it, I think there are communities that do sticker swaps, and there's a few big websites that still do sticker swaps all over Europe.
Right.
For me, the last time I had stickers I was probably about 12 years old. That was the last time that I did. So, like, literally, it was kind of the last time I collected anything of any collectible value. I was about 13, and then from 13 to I'm 33 now. So from 13 to 31, like there was
nothing
existing at all.
That happened so much. That happened with me. I started collecting also about 1979. I was about 12 years old. And from there till, I don't know, till about 1999 or so, that's when I came back into this. So it was like a 20-year gap. And it happened so much. Were you able to save some of that stuff from when you were a kid and the times when you collected? So, because that's going back a few years.
Yeah, well, it's actually a good question. I've not even thought about this. But when I got into the hobby, back into the hobby a few years ago, I asked my mom to go up a lot to see if there was anything.
Right.
And I had a few cards there was a Merlin set in 1995, 96 that had a few cards. So I had a few of them, but that was about it. I didn't have anything good. All my Pokemon had gone, so I was a bit gutted.
So going back to when I was about 12 years old, right? But before that, at 12 years old, I went to Portugal and stayed there for 4 years. But before that, here in the U.S., I was collecting baseball cards, like a lot of kids did that nowadays. And typically, I don't know if till this day it's probably something that's still done. We used to save the cards in a shoebox. And of course, like everything else, it goes under your bed. So when I came back from Portugal after vacation, my mom had thrown all of those things away. And you're talking about cards from the 70s before the big booms, because 1980s, there were excessive amount of cards that were put out there. So I lost a lot of money from baseball players. I mean, stars in the 1970s. Some of the names are probably not recognizable for you guys, but you're talking about major stars that have records that may not ever be broken. But that's my story about my mom. God rest her soul. I've forgiven you. Let me ask you something, because I thought it was interesting, and this is going back to the companies that you grade with. And I'm sorry, I'm going back and forth and just looking at my notes, and I said, wait, I forgot to ask Karen this. No BGS grading. There's got to be a good reason for that, and I'm curious to hear it from you.
So when I first started grading, it was at the point where all the grading cards were just about overrun. but they were all still open at the time. And I submitted, for someone else, I submitted 50 cards. So this is going back, to about February 2021. I think 50 or 60 cards to BGS, and I've still not got them now. They're still not being updated, and I think they've only just, like, this week opened up one of the lower tiers.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's about $70 per card, $75 per card. I've not actually looked into it yet. Someone's told me, but it's still going to take 6 or 7 months for those cards to come back, and it just left a bad taste in my mouth, because I like customer service. So when I get good customer service, I kind of be like, eh. But obviously BGS is BGS. They are one of the best. Once they get to a reasonable level in terms of the backlog and cards are being able to be submit quicker, I probably will use them again. Definitely, because I mean, I love subgrades. Like, I love subgrades on cards.
I do too. I love them.
And they're the best company to do that. So I do want to use them again. But again, I just don't think it's the right time yet, especially when people are wanting cards within a few months, not like half a year to a year.
I don't blame you. And before I want to do a follow-up to that real quick, but I kind of forgot and mentioned, because some people that saw the post, and then thank you for sharing that on your story. At the end of this conversation, I'm going to give 3 sealed packs of this Upper Deck 1994 collection. This is actually from the preview set. As I don't know if you're aware, but Upper Deck had the rights for the World Cup for 1994 here in the U.S. And before that, in 1993, they released some preview sets in different languages. And I happened to buy some of the boxes from this particular one, which is in Italian/Spanish. And again, the checklist on these, I think it's 3 different collections, because they also have a Japanese edition and a German edition and just all English edition, if I'm not mistaken. The reason why I chose these is because, me being Portuguese, this preview set actually had the most amount of Portuguese players, even though Portugal didn't make it to the World Cup. Don't forget, this is a preview set. So somebody's going to be lucky enough to get these 3 sealed packs, and also from World Cup 1998, 3 sealed packs. And like I mentioned, there's actually one of your guys, Terry Sheringham, is in the front on one of them. So guaranteed an English players. Going back to what we were talking about, Becca, before we go on to talk about the PSA, the interview that you had with Nat Turner. I'm sure you've been aware of some of the things that have happened with Becca, namely what happened with the Cristiano Ronaldo sticker. Or did you become aware of that whole, I don't know what you call it, novella in Spanish?
And the same with the Haaland.
Also, yes, yeah. It's ironic that something that they should not have been considered fake or not official. Yes. They said, no, we're not grading this, and then the Ronaldo fakes, they went on to grade a good amount. Yeah, unbelievable. So
no, and that's, I mean, again, it's, you don't know I think the amount that was graded is what's the annoying thing. That's the most annoying thing, and when they actually caught it. And it usually takes someone within the hobby to actually realize that. So that was the annoying thing. And I think with it being such a reputable company, I've always said from the backlog, I think the demand, what must have been placed on BGS and PSA, was astronomical, because everyone, I think, like I said, I think with PSA on one day, they received 300,000 cards on one day. And for any business, even though it's obviously good people are sending the cards, they're overrun. But I just think the way they handled the situation was not good. And
for more than one reason, Aaron, for more than one reason. First, they doubled down. They said, no, we, I don't know if you know about this, but Golden at some point actually had a Becca graded sticker that everybody called them out. I said, listen, this doesn't look right, So in Golden's defense, they did send it out to Becca, to BGS, and said, please review this again. And they doubled down. They said, no, this is good. But obviously Golden did the right thing in not selling that card. But and then they claimed that we've been in contact with Panini, and then they're basically confirming that there are different different characteristics to the stickers. I mean, just plain BS. Terrible public relations on their part.
Yeah, no, I agree, and again, it was the accumulation of things that happened. It was the stickers, it was the Haaland stickers, it was the way they addressed the backlog, the way again the cards that I still have outstanding over a year, well, almost a year now. All can be rectified by just correct communication and admitting when you're wrong or admitting when you're behind or something like that. And I just don't think they've done that well, which is again why I'm liking PSA more, because they're trying to be more honest and trying to be more open about
sure.
what's happening.
For those of you that follow me, and they probably witnessed one of my lives I had with Vince Massara. He's from Australia, down under, and his name on Instagram is Soccer Cards Rock, which he did a tremendous amount of homework and legwork in identifying this Cristiano Ronaldo and getting a hold of Beckett and so on. And I forgot already what I was going to say. In my live, he actually shared with us that were watching the fact that at some point, a few people that had actually purchased these graded stickers from Beckett actually sent them over to Beckett for a review. And it just so happens that Beckett had the audacity of just taking them out of the slab, not sending it back to the person that requested a review on it, and just removed it from the pop report. I mean, and no compensation whatsoever. You hadn't heard about that, Aaron? I mean, yeah. If you have a chance, go back and see my interview from maybe a month ago with Soccer Cards Rock.
Yeah.
And that's what he mentioned, and he was right, because he kept track of the pop report at Beckett for that particular sticker, and voila, a few days later he did check out. Oh, it changed. I believe it was at least 6 less graded stickers, and that explains those people that emailed Soccer Cards Rock say, listen, this is what they did to me, and so it's 100% true. Unbelievable. No compensation, like you said, PSA, and we're going to phase into PSA right now. And obviously, that's one of the great things that they do. Is and Nat confirmed on the interview that he did with him that he does, even when there are times when you ask something to be sent back for PSA again to see, because there's some misgrades out there. But the good thing about PSA is that they will, for example, if you send them a PSA 9 and you're kind of suspicious, there's some corners over here, it could have, by the naked eye or whatever, it just so happens that it's possibly an error. And you're in that, and you send it to them, and PSA does review, and it comes back, now it's a PSA 8. The good thing about PSA is that they will indeed compensate for the price difference, the market value of the card. I mean, that's a great feature. And the fact that Nat, confirmed that, it was great. I mean, what do you think about you being as someone that submits to PSA? You say, they got my back.
It's what you want. It's what you want in terms of the what were we going to say then?
Customer service.
It's not even the customer service. It's just the
guarantee, warranty.
It's just the guarantee that you get from them. So when you're sending across, because again, a lot of people are new to submitting cards that have been graded or that need to be graded, but they're very high value cards. And to not only trust me to send it to PSA, they then want to trust PSA to do the right job. So there's multiple elements of that chain that person who's sending the card can get worried. But the way I think PSA are just by far above everyone else is that guarantee that comes with it. That if there is something wrong, that they'll fix it.
And even though you pay a little more, but at least that they'll take care of you. It's the common saying, you get what you pay for, basically. So, yeah. Let me ask you something. Were you kind of disappointed when, two variables here. First, I was kind of surprised, well, in a way, that he said Japan was actually the country outside of the U.S. that were PSA is actually getting more submissions of cards, and I think it's probably more TCG related than anything else.
Yeah.
I almost got the feeling that even though I thought the UK somewhere, perhaps England, they would think about doing an European office. He mentioned Belgium and Berlin.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's giving us any hints, but he also mentioned Paris. And as you know, the Collectors Universe umbrella does own the PCGS company, which grades coins. He also mentioned Paris. They already have an office for submission for coins. Did you get a feeling that maybe the UK is not potentially an European place that they're looking for, and would Brexit have anything to do with this? What's your take on that?
That was actually really funny because a few people asked me this after the live.
Okay.
I think reading between the lines, how I read it was this PSA Japan where they send the cards over to the States. It looks like what they want to get in place next is a dedicated office in Japan to then grade the cards while in Japan. Then it seems like they've got some infrastructure in France, so they can do it in France. Now, I think the EU, I think Aidan Cards has just said it there. I reckon Brexit must be a reason for them to stay clear. A lot of staying clear. So I think that's going to be a reason. So yeah, I think if you read between the lines of what he said, I don't think the UK is going to be at the top of the list of getting a hub just yet.
I was really hoping, and especially because of, there's no language barrier, first of all, English. France would probably be a little more, how can I say, what's the word? A little more of a problem for them, even though English is, a universal language. But the fact that they already have something set up in Paris, and the way geographically, if you look at things in Europe, Paris does fall within the middle, of Europe in general. So you got the same feeling that I did, right? UK.
From France, it's easy to get to Spain. It's easy to get to Germany, Belgium. You can get quite far just going through France. So I think it makes sense. It does make sense. I mean, for most companies outside the UK, the UK is not that attractive because of tax and whatnot, and we charge a lot of tax as well. So
that's definitely always a problem. Yeah. When you get to interview Nat again a few months from now, as a follow-up question, because you can make sure you write this one down. The fact that he mentioned that Japan is number one, and he didn't say the UK being number two. I was just curious. I'm sure they have like a top five. I know Germany is up there. A lot of collectors from Germany coming out of, but UK has to be top three at this point, right? I mean, especially over the last couple of years with the increase in collecting.
Yeah, it was one of the questions that I actually wanted to do a follow-up with on him.
Wow. See, we think alike.
Yeah, we do. Where is the UK in terms of like the hierarchy? Or what is the hierarchy? Like, is USA 1? Is it Canada 2? Is it Japan 3? Like, how does it actually go? But what I think is going to be the problem is it's a chicken and egg situation. So if we have no authorized vendors, so we're paying more to get stuff graded at PSA, then there's going to be less from the UK because it's
good point.
Expensive. Good point. Whereas in America, there's over 200 registered vendors where you can ship cards to, and they will do everything. But in the UK, we don't have that. So
that's valid.
I think that's an issue. But I think there's people who want to send. I know there's people who want to send a lot of cards, but it's the logistics of actually doing that. I think that's one of the issues. So that's why I asked the question as well on the system simpler, so at least more people can find a way of submitting their cards to it.
But something as a follow-up and knowing how it seems that like Nat Turner is pretty active. Sometimes he likes some of the things that I post on my stories and so on. Shoot him a quick message and as a follow-up, Mr. Turner, can you tell me where UK falls with it? Because that would be interesting to know. And I'm sure he'll reply to you. It might take him a couple of days because he's a busy guy, but he'll definitely do that. One thing that I thought was very interesting, and I know this does not affect you guys over there, but to me, I live in New Jersey. I live in what we call the tri-state area of the United States, which is the state of New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut. So he mentioned about a New Jersey office.
Yeah.
Right now, they already have an office. It's in a place called Woodbridge, but he didn't mention Woodbridge as the office that would be accepting actually submissions and will also start grading them. He mentioned the city of Jersey City, which I happen to work in Jersey City. It's not going to affect me by much because where I live actually sits in the middle of the distance between Jersey City and Woodbridge. So yeah. I'm fine with that. But I thought it was very interesting that he mentioned Jersey City, which means a completely new office, possibly closing the one in Woodbridge. But Jersey City, for those of you obviously that don't know, I mean, all we have separating the city of Jersey City and New York City, or Manhattan, as a lot of people, is just the Hudson River. Okay. So they're strategically locating an office that will much easier and faster access for the whole tri-state area, including New York and Connecticut. So I thought that was smart.
No, that's I think again, I think he gave so much information in that interview. It was really, you know, I really enjoyed it. But what I wanted to ask you, so what is the office in Woodbridge doing now? What do they do for PSA?
Yeah, all they're doing right now is accepting submissions. You can go, at least before the pandemic, you were able to go in person instead. So taking away the UPS delivery that can get lost, the FedEx, whatever. And you would go in person and submit it there. Here's my submission. And they will be responsible from that point on to send it over to California for grading. Okay. So this was up until the pandemic. I know for a long period of time, they stopped allowing the in-person submission. So that's what they did. And that's what Tokyo is still doing. But at some point, like he mentioned, they're going to start actually doing not just the acceptance of the submissions, they're going to start grading, in place over there. So yeah. You asked him, and he mentioned actually one of the guys I'm friends with, Matt Handler, PSA, when he asked him if he collected anything soccer. I remember him saying he's a smart guy. He's actually going for the Messi. He's got Messi and CR rookies. He didn't say what grades, right? Yeah. He also mentioned that he picked them up at Golden, obviously easy to do. And he's also has bought into some wax boxes. And I don't know if you follow Ken Golden from Golden Auctions. Yeah. He did mention in maybe a month or so away, he had like a soccer special on with Matt Handler for PSA, which I had the pleasure and the privilege of also interviewing last weekend, actually. He's now in Paris. And Ken Golden did share that wax boxes and sealed packs and so on is the one area that is a good, safe investing in soccer, which goes to your name. Did you think it was interesting that he mentioned these two things and the fact that he's already collecting soccer?
Yeah, and I think it's one thing that I say to a lot of people in my group as well. The way I've always rationalized collecting or investing, let's say, is I say the cards itself are stocks, sealed wax is like bonds. So I think the sealed wax is like a safer bet. So to have someone who is not only been a collector for 30 years, but also someone who's in charge of probably one of the biggest companies, if not the biggest company in the hobby, say that they're also collecting soccer wax. So it just kind of gives a massive boost to people in the soccer market, because we are still relatively small, the soccer market, compared to all the others, TCG, basketball, NFL. We're still very small. And I think there's still a lot of opportunity to collect and to invest in these products. And the number one for me, and especially what I'm going to do more this year, is collecting wax. So to hear people like Ken Golden, to hear people like Nat Turner say that's what they're doing and that's what they're collecting in, and that's what they're pushing, it just means we're going in the right direction.
Well, these are not wax boxes, but these are sealed packs. We're about halfway through our conversation. I figure, as a reminder, don't forget, pay close attention to especially what Aaron is saying, because the question will come that will grant you these 6 packs of stickers. Yeah, one thing that you also mentioned, and I don't know if we had heard the numbers, yeah, as far as the backlog, and that was one of your questions. So at some point it looked like it was 14 million stickers and cards in backlog, and most recently, I think the latest number, they're down to about 6 millions. What a number!
Yeah, it's absolutely insane. You just think of the individual cards that one individual card, and they've got 14 million of them. It blows my mind how big this hobby actually is. And because I'm a very much a geek. I like my numbers. I like the analytics. So websites like GemRate, when it shows how
I follow it. Great information. You shared it today too. I saw that.
Great website, and I enjoy like looking at the daily figures that get sent out, and I'll look at the players that I'm collecting and compare it to the amount where the backlog was. It's just crazy, and again, it just gives credence to the hobby on how far it can go. But the number itself, like 14 million, I mean, again, credit to them to getting it from 40 million to 6 million. But yeah, I remember a lot of people last year were very upset because it was, it was unexpected. I say it was unexpected. I think it was expected because the delays started to come, the prices started to increase. But yeah, it seems like they're going in the right direction now.
Yeah, so I mean that's 6 million. It's still far way to go. And as a follow-up question to that, or maybe he did answer this on his own. He's looking to get back to normal at some point this year. But here's the thing, and I'm sure they take this into account. He can never be sure about when that will be because, and we're just looking on the soccer side, right? I mean, just recently you got the Donruss Road to Qatar release, so submissions are going to start or have already started for this set. But there are a few coming out. The Prism Premier League is coming out also, and I'm going to mention something. I don't know if you've been aware, or if the guys on here have also been aware. I'm part of a Discord. Are you familiar with Discord?
Yeah.
I'm in the two channels, Vintage and Soccer Study from my friend Andre, and a friend of ours, Ben, from I think his name is Soccer Cards Net from Texas. He mentioned a few days ago, sort of a little secret. It seems that Panini will this year have an Eminence Soccer collection, which is amazing. Apparently, for those of you that don't know, Ben seems to know the supplier of the silver and gold for those particular sets, and he told them, listen, there's going to be an Eminence Soccer, which everybody's excited about. I even emailed my Panini rep, which I'm not going to reveal the name, and the response from her, she's a salesperson, obviously, she said, this is the exact response from her. Paul, I cannot confirm 100%, but can say it's been in the talks. I mean, to me, that's telling me that, they're not going to come out and say it ahead of time. Good chance we're going to have an Eminence Soccer. What do you think about that?
So I think many things about that. First of all, I heard some very loose rumors that Eminence was coming back, and for the hobby, I think it's needed. For the soccer portion of the hobby, I think an Eminence set is needed. And it's going to be an unpopular opinion, I don't actually like Eminence. I don't like Eminence cards, but I can tell you that if Eminence does come out, I will be getting Eminence.
Why don't you like it? Can you share that with us, Aaron? Not the price. I mean, nobody likes the price. Oh, no. If that's where you started.
I definitely don't like the price. I don't know. I just don't like the look. I just don't like the look of it. But I do think it's a set that's needed. I do think if the set does come out, it will be massive. A World Cup, like Aiden's just said, a World Cup set for Eminence would be absolutely amazing.
That's what we're thinking, but one never knows.
Yeah. So hopefully, because I think we need that high end set. I think we've got, we've got immaculate. Well, mid to high, mid range. We've got
impeccable,
which is okay, but like, to get that next level set, I think it would explode. It would absolutely explode, and I'd be looking forward to it, definitely.
That's going to be crazy. And again, this is going back to what I was mentioning. Turner cannot really say when things will get back to what they consider normal, because there's constantly, just about every month, new sets come in, not just from soccer, but basketball, baseball, and football, and so on. So that we'll see but he's definitely saying that sometime in 2022, the bulk and economy submission levels are going to be back. He said that for sure.
Yeah, and
right?
even before the chat, I've seen him on 2 interviews saying it's definitely going to be back. And on one of the interviews, he said he wants it back by like April time, which would be, I think that would be amazing. It'd be interesting to see what the back at that stage and what they do with it. But I know even if it just take me, for instance, I've got stacks of cards waiting to be sent on one of those lower tiers. I've got a few hundred that I'm just waiting to send myself. So I can't imagine people who have the collection is 10, 30 times greater than mine, how many they're going to send. And then again, but like you said, it's then how does that then affect the backlog? Is it going to be where it's going to be allocated potentially, and they just only allow a certain amount to be sent per person?
Yeah, because he did say, which was confirmed, I think the official word already, it was that they were using 80% of their personnel to just take care of the backlog, and 20% for any of the new submissions. So maybe they'll change those numbers going forward. But let's see, before I go to another thing, let's see some of the comments. I don't want to forget, the fact that people are joining us. Sometimes I get distracted. We have the great El Rey collection. Al Jargella, for those of you that don't know, or just follow myself and Aaron at Investing Soccer. El Rey collection is the one person out there that you cannot afford not to follow. It is a double negative. You have to follow Al Jargella. He's got perhaps, I keep saying that perhaps, he's got the greatest vintage soccer collection in the world. Follow him. Actually, he just posted something. Did you just see what he posted today?
No.
You got to see a 1957 Pelé from a Balas de Football, but it's something relatively new. He knows about that there are others from that collection, but he just got it graded with PSA, since we're talking about PSA. Guys, go follow El Rey collection. Trust me, it'll be worth your time.
Yeah, me and El Rey just connected, so hopefully I can get to speak to him more. I'd love to know more about his vintage set.
I had him one time. The first time I had El Rey on was my Facebook group, which is mostly for the Portuguese collectors that I know. But he was just showing off his Portuguese collection, between the Eusebius and other players that a lot of people kind of forget about, the Coluna, Yazaldi, and so on. He shared a wealth of information. So you can do one show just on Portuguese sets. It's amazing without. Trading Card Collect is asking, what are your thoughts on other grading companies like MGC? I don't know if he's asking, maybe he's asking for both of our opinions. After the 3 that we mentioned, PSA, SGC, and Beckett, I have never sent anything to any other companies, especially if they're high end. I got to be honest with you. Even with SGC, I'm a little biased towards it. If you have a Messi or Ronaldo rookie, I would go with PSA first. BGS, even though right now they're having tons of issues, but SGC, I just don't think you get the value, the return value that you really deserve on that particular card. What are your thoughts about MGC, Aaron?
Yeah, so I did a recent talk with MGC probably about 2 weeks ago. So they're a UK company, a UK grading company, started I think last February. They actually, so since February, they've only been going a year, but they're already working with Google and Xbox, Netflix. So they are doing actually really big things in. And the person who runs it is called Jake. Actually, I think he might be in the chat. He's called Jake, and they've got a good basis of a good grading card company. They're not there yet, and he freely admits that they're nowhere near where PSA are. But they've got a good team, and they've got a good process going. And anyone who is thinking of grading with MGC, I would definitely take a look at the interview that I had with him. Definitely give them a message and try them out. But as you say, for the high end, for the mid to high end, you can't really look past BGS or PSA, just for the how they welcomed by the hobby, how the hobby perceives BGS and PSA. And regardless of wherever you are, you want to, whatever card it is, you want to get the most you can for your book. But with any company, anything can be improved. You know, anything can become better. And I think even Nat in his conversation said, you know, he welcomes the competition. It just means that the whole space is doing well. One thing that I will say for MGC is it's a UK company, and again, sending to the States is expensive.
Right.
So we need something for ourselves in the UK, and that's one of the things. But me personally, I send to PSA and SGC. Moment.
And Aaron, and here's the other thing. I'm definitely not against sending to any other grading company, especially on things that are your PC, your personal collection. If you want to do it just for the sake of safeguarding that stick or that card, hey, I'm all for it.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, I've actually said, like, again, one of the things for me is customer service. Like, regardless of who you are or what you are, I just love customer service, and I know Jake and his team do good at that. What I was going to ask you is, what do you think of CSG, CGS, CSG?
You know what? I'm definitely hearing a lot of very good things about it. There's even talks about potentially somebody higher up, some out there already looking at that company to potential buying it and you know, putting some good money, investing in it. That's what I'm hearing. Potentially that could be, you know, a front runner right now. It's probably fourth among all the grading companies. So, but I got to be honest, I haven't sent anything to them, but I'm hearing more good than bad when it comes to CSG, right? I think it is.
Yeah.
Yep. CSG. Yeah. So we're almost towards the 1 hour mark. I really would like to try to end this before 1 hour, only because of the Instagram limitation as far as being able to record this, so for future viewing of people that did not have you know, the time to witness this live. Look at El Rey collection. Somebody must have mentioned something about PSA opening up bulk or economy. Just see what he says. No way. I have 7,000 cards, and then he's probably being very conservative in that number. I have 7,000 cards that could be slabbed if it was $10 a card. He would do it.
That's insane. That is insane. I love that. I absolutely love that.
Also, as a follow-up to that, we were talking about CSG. Al from El Rey Collections mentioned is owned by a group larger than the group that owns PSA. I did not know that. So maybe what I hear that they may buy Beckett. Interesting. I think that could only be good at this point, right, Aaron? What do you think?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think the space is wide open at the moment, and like I said, PSA are the front runners, but it doesn't mean that you can't be a good second. And I think especially depending on, because I've submitted a few cards to I've submitted a few cards to CSG. I didn't like the process at the beginning, but I think they will get better. But I really like the slabs. I really like the slabs, and they also do subgrades as well, which is big.
Yeah. Correct me if I'm wrong, but CSG, is that the one, or is it probably HGA that you could actually customize the colors on the title on the slab, or is that's HGA?
I'm not a fan of that. That's HGA. Yeah.
HGA. Okay, that's what I thought.
I don't like the custom slabs. I don't like the
look at this. So it looks like Aiden Cards actually took time away. That's not that wasn't what I asked you to do. You were supposed to only check El Rey's collection after this live. He actually took some time away from watching this. You know, the question regarding who's going to be getting these could have come while you did this. He just looked at El Rey's collection, beautiful Henry rookie stickers. He doesn't display a tenth of what he's got. I mean, definitely. If you got anything from this particular live, the fact that El Rey Collection joined us and you know, commented and even witnessed us talking, you know, from one side of the Atlantic to the other, is that you have to go and follow El Rey Collection. One last comment: we need a good second and third and a strong European-based grading presence. Absolutely. There was one in Germany too, right? Somebody mentioned. I forget the name, but I know there's a German collection grading card company that's out there, right? Have you heard the same thing?
Yeah, I've heard of a few. I've not looked into any of the European one. I think there's a French one as well. What a decent size. But I've not, apart from MGC who are in the UK. I've not really looked into any of the other grading card companies.
Gotcha. All right. So Aiden Cards does have an excuse, and it was smart of him. He actually said, "I'm watching on the laptop. I checked on the phone." So, valid reason. Okay, that's not a problem. No worries, Al. No need to apologize for the interruption. All right, guys. Before I go, Aaron, I definitely want to ask the question that will give somebody a lucky winner of 3 packs of 1998 the World Cup. As you know, Ronaldo Nazario is the guy to get. Henry, Zidane. You have great players in here. And 1994 World Cup Upper Deck, the 1993 Preview Edition. I'm going to ask one question, and it's going to be an easy one for those that paid attention throughout. How old was Aaron when he started collecting as a youngster? Easy question. Again, I never know what I'm going to ask until I'm here, and so I try to pay attention. Okay, this is a good question for someone at the end. So, how old was he? Oh, there we go. João Souza, CF. Must be Portuguese with a name like that. João Souza, congratulations. He was indeed 12. Do you also see Aaron João Souza as being the first one answering 12?
Yeah.
Very good. Congratulations to you. I'll get in contact with the João Souza afterwards. Aaron, I don't know if there's anything else you want to say. To me, it was a great pleasure having you on. I really appreciate you taking the time to chat with us. Anything?
No, I mean, just thank you. Like I said, I think these types of conversations is again one of the reasons why I want to continue in the hobby. It's just meeting new people. If it wasn't for the hobby, we would have never met. I would never have met Elle. I would have never have met Aiden, Aaron, MGC. There's a lot of people that I would have never have spoken to. So be able to have platforms like this where we can just talk about the things that we love to do, I think is just amazing. So thank you for giving me this opportunity, and hopefully we can...
It was my pleasure, and it's great on a rainy day in the UK and on a snowy day here in the northeast of the United States. Aaron, it was a pleasure. Thank you very much.
What I do want to say as well is that we're going to the National this year. Well, I'm trying to get to the National this year, and that's in Atlantic City, isn't it?
Yeah, that's a 2-hour drive for me, but you know what? Typically in the summer, that time of the year, I'm in Portugal vacationing. I always miss it. But otherwise, we will definitely meet up. Okay. Aaron, thank you very much. It was a great pleasure, and we'll be chatting soon again. Thanks again.
Absolutely.
Good night, guys.
Paulo. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.